Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Quite a day it was in the markets. The Dow Jones has made a stunning comeback. It's recovered nearly all of the 471-point plunge on hope that the trade deal is not dead. And that just goes to show you how much emotion is involved in the markets. And when you have an emotion involved in the markets, it affects and makes other things that make logical sense, such as a dollar index or supply and demand, almost null and void, at least for a time. And this is an example kind of what happened today. People were very nervous about the trade deal and about what Trump's threat about raising tariffs again. But here we're gonna look at this, and we're gonna kind of go back to another story that talks that will give us about what the forecast was early in the day and how it affects precious metals. But stocks had recovered the bulk of their losses earlier Monday as investors bet China and the U.S. will strike a trade deal despite President Trump's threat to hike tariffs on Chinese imports over the weekend. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the day down just 66.47 points at 26,438.48, while the S&P closed 0.4% lower at 2932.47. The Nasdaq Composite was down 0.5% at 8,123.29. The market's comeback was accelerated after CNBC reported that a Chinese delegation will in fact still travel to the U.S. to continue negotiations this week, according to sources, albeit with a smaller group than originally planned. The Dow Jones was down as much as 471 points, while the S&P traded down 1.2% at its lows. The Nasdaq was briefly down 2.2%. Dow member Disney traded 0.2% higher after falling as much as 1.5%, offsetting some of the decline. McDonald's and Chevron traded higher as well. Look at this. This is crazy. Look at that. Amazing. This is all kind of time back to, obviously, trade, and this is why it's important, I feel, to kind of pay attention to current events and what's going on, because things like this can occur where there's no safe haven support as geopolitics heat up. Gold price is a little bit weaker this morning. This was earlier in the day. And it says gold prices were trading slightly down in early morning, U.S. trading Monday. The safe haven metal bulls are perplexed that gold and silver prices have not received a good bid from fresh geopolitical developments that have tanked world stock markets today. June gold futures were last down $1.10 an ounce at $12.80.30. July COMEX silver was last down about 15 cents at $14.82 at an ounce. World stock markets were rattled and traded sharply lower overnight on news that President Trump tweeted a threat to further increase U.S. trade tariffs on Chinese goods. The sense of the marketplace had been that a U.S. trade deal was close and could be finalized late this week. Commodity markets were also roiled overnight on ideas any escalation on the U.S.-China trade war would translate into slower global economic growth. U.S. stock indexes are pointed towards sharply lower openings when the New York day session begins. As of the writing of this article, the Chinese trade delegation was still headed to the U.S. for talks this week. Upon reflection, many traders and investors realize they should not have become so optimistic on the trade war being resolved, given Trump's propensity to make knee-jerk decisions. And I think those knee-jerk reactions and inability to predict what he's going to do, I think, is part of in many ways, some of the success that we're having in leveraging for better deals with the Chinese on this. The Chinese yuan plunged on the world foreign exchange market. The U.S. dollar index is trading slightly up today, while NYMEX crude oil prices are lower and trading around $61 a barrel. Gas prices have subsided a bit, I've noticed, as of late, but not much. Adding to geopolitical concerns, starting the trading week, the U.S. is sending a naval task force, including an aircraft carrier, to the Middle East as a show of force against Iran. A U.S. official said that U.S. warships are fully prepared to respond to any attack from Iran and others. There was some talk, some chatter out there. There was some threats against U.S. interest overseas, whether directly or indirectly through our allies. U.S. economic data due for release Monday includes the Unemployment Trend Index and Global Services PMI. Technically, the gold bears have the overall near-term technical advantage. A 2.5-month-old downtrend is in place for the daily bar, and the next upside price objective is to produce a close in June futures above a solid resistance at $1,300. Bears' next near-term downside price breakout objective is pushing prices below solid technical support at $1,250. First resistance is seen at the overnight high of $1,287.40 and then at $1,290. It is interesting how gold, it's tough to bring it down, and it's hanging on there in the high 1200s for sure. And July silver futures bears have overall near-term technical advantage. Prices in the 2.5-month-old downtrend in the daily bar chart. Silver Bull's next upside price potential objective in closing prices above solid technical resistance at $15.15 an ounce. The next downside price breakout objective for the bears is closing prices below solid support at $14.50. So a larger gap there, and it makes sense. Silver is more volatile than gold. Silver is a safe haven, but gold is the ultimate safe haven, in my opinion. And we're seeing platinum down too. Platinum is down pretty substantially. Let's take a look at these numbers here. This shows a slight uptick for platinum prices, but $5 from its downward trend before is a slightly recovery, which means that this could be the revelation of possibly that retooling for the auto catalyst industry, because palladium is really getting hit hard compared to platinum and the other metals, for sure. But it's just fascinating to see where things go. And essentially, really, if you look at these numbers here, there's not a whole lot of movement in the metals, given the news of the day, especially with geopolitical tensions rising with Iran and the United States and with Israel and Hamas, and these rocket attacks and what's been going on there. So it's going to be an interesting week to see how it plays out with the precious metal prices. But, it could be the metals not reacting as much means that maybe it's just they're not, maybe some of the trading in the trading rooms for the precious metal prices and even commodities in general, they're not reacting like the regular market is. And that could be the case, whereas many times you would see that kind of reaction. But I think if there's going to be any kind of logistical or logic placed in these markets, is going to be with gold and silver. But there's going to be panic buying, panic selling there as well. But the whole key is for us just to hold tight with our precious metals. And if maybe one of those things where is if the price is if you feel the price is low, it's a good time to buy. And that's certainly what I'm doing with certain things. Some of my goals have been kind of sidestepped. I just bought an ounce of platinum. And but on the other hand, there are times when you shouldn't buy either. If you feel like the price is too high, well, don't buy. It's up to each individual to make their decisions and how they divide out their portfolios in terms of investments and in terms of hedging and speculation. There is a lot of speculation for sure, but as you can tell here, I believe strongly that the metal to really have to hold on to that's the least risky right now is gold, for sure. And I think that's why there's no question why that's at the top of this list here in this chart here from Kitco. Gold is it holds its own for sure. There's no speculation there. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It holds its value for the most part, and I still think, though, to some degree, it might be a bit undervalued. But we'll see how it all plays out. But post your thoughts below about today's developments. with the precious metals prices and the geopolitics behind all that is, and can affect the prices and the markets. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude, y'all, for watching, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.